sunny England here, surprisingly, and welcome to the first ever edition of Desktop NASCAR, a new weekly podcast series I'll be running as a sort of sister program to Garage Area, covering the world of fan-made NASCAR, stop motion animations, etc. I've already discussed about how I'd really like to see them sort of revitalised, many people say they're flagging, dying out even. So this is my chance, my opportunity, my attempt even, to try and revitalise, get some interest back into it. And this is also your chance to get your name known as a stop motion maker yourself. I'll be talking about stop motion races, any I've seen this week that I really like, any upcoming ones. If you want to give me a preview of a race that you're making, feel free to send me the details, plus some question and answer tips, some help and advice for anyone wanting to get into stop motions themselves. See if we can get some interest back into it. I'm going to start with my own stop motion that I'm making, the NASCAR RockAuto. The RockAuto. Let me try that for a third time. The NASCAR RockAuto 500 I'm making at the moment. I've not actually started making the stop motion itself, but the track is coming along nicely. It's being built at the moment as we speak. Walls have been made out of Foamex material and basically hammered into the wood base. It's actually looking very nice at the moment. I'll get some photos posted up on a preview sort of YouTube account at some stage to let you guys know, let you guys see how it's coming along. And I've also got today a very, very handy piece of kit that I would recommend to any stop motion maker out there. It's called the Joby Gorilla Pod. It's basically a three-legged camera stand, and this one I've got, I'm holding it right in front of me. It's literally about 15 inches tall when you sort of standing up as tall as it can be. But you can basically, it's got a sort of ball and socket leg system, so you can basically sort of bend the legs into any configuration you want. It's basically designed so it can sort of hold on to things and sort of hang on, I don't know, branches and poles. But you can basically stand it up, and it's really low down to the ground. But it also keeps the camera dead still for when you're taking photos. So you can literally take one photo, movie cars, take another photo, the camera will not have moved. It's a brilliant little piece of kit. I picked it up for £10, which will literally be about $15. I'll post a link about it. And don't worry, I'm not getting paid by Joby to promote their products, but I think it's a brilliant bit of kit, and I would recommend it to any stop motion maker out there. So that's the Joby Gorilla Pod. I'll post a link to where you can have a look at it and possibly buy one for yourself in the description for this podcast. Now, details of the race itself. I've come up with an interesting potential format for it. Now, most of you who listen to my ramblings often will know that I'm not a huge advocate of the chase for the Sprint Cup. I don't particularly like the format. And I read somewhere, I think it was on a NASCAR.com message board, somebody said, if we're going to have the chase, why don't we at least reward the guy who's leading the points at the end of the regular season? So basically the RockAuto 500 is going to be the last race of the regular season. It's going to decide the regular season champion. And they're going to be racing for the Dale Earnhardt Cup. Now, if I just bring up NASCAR.com right now to give you an example of how this will be, I'll bring up the standings for the Sprint Cup, and I'll basically explain to you, it'll basically be like a championship decider before the chase gets underway. Now, at the moment, Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson, joint leaders. Can you imagine if the RockAuto 500 was held tomorrow, if I released it tomorrow? That'd be pretty big. So basically, if the RockAuto 500 was decided now, was run now, Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards and possibly Kevin Harvick, I'm still not too up on the new point system, would be in contention for the Dale Earnhardt Cup as champions of the regular season. Do you see what I mean here? And it gives the drivers something to race for, and it'll just be a general sort of exhibition shootout race as well. The outright winner of the race will be running for the Brooklands Cup. Now, so far, 21 cars and drivers are confirmed for the race. Sooner to the time when I finalise the starting order, I'm going to do an entry list video, or I might get in contact. Sly Smoke 14, if you're listening, I might request or see if you wouldn't mind doing, in the style of your excellent NASCAR Sprint Cup entry list videos, an entry list video for the RockAuto 500. I think that'd be really good. So the confirmed entry list right now, i.e. the cars I have ready to film the race now. Number 33, Clint Bowyer. This is in no sort of numerical order. I've literally just got a sort of list of the cars I've got. Number 33, Clint Bowyer. Number 1, Jamie McMurray. Number 99, Carl Edwards. Number 00, David Ruderman. Number 2, Brad Keselowski. Number 4, Casey Kane. Number 5, Mark Martin. Number 6, David Reagan. Number 20, Joey Logano. Number 29, Kevin Harvick. number 31 Jeff Burton, number 48 Jimmy Johnson, number 56 Martin Truex Jr., number 88 Dale Earnhardt Jr., number 14 Tony Stewart, number 18 Kyle Busch, number 22 Kurt Busch, number 24 Jeff Gordon, number 27 Paul Menard, number 43 AJ Allmendinger, and number 39 Ryan Newman. Those are the 21 confirmed. Now I have 4 more on order which will complete the 25 car grid. Those 4 that are on order and waiting to arrive are number 9 Marcus Ambrose, number 11 Denny Hamlin, number 21 Trevor Bayne, and number 47 Bobby Labonte. There may yet be a late addition, depending on funds, if I can get these 2 cars, but number 16 Greg Biffle and number 42 Juan Pablo Montoya may or may not be in the race. We'll see. I'll have to see if I can get the cars in time or not. So there's a sort of provisional lineup for the RockAuto 500, and that's not the only stop motion race I'll be talking about this week, because Luke, aka VSA 2.0, is also making a stop motion. He's getting back into stop motions. He was one that in the aftermath of my video discussing whether stop motions were dying, Fan-Made NASCAR was dying, he's one of his response video was one of the most passionate I've heard on the subject. He was really, you could tell it was really a big issue for him about the health of stop motions. So he's decided to chip in with his own race, the Mopar 300. Now, he very kindly passed on the message, he passed on a message to me showing me the details for this race. So I'm going to give you an exclusive preview of the Mopar 300. The basic outline of the race: it'll be a 300 kilometer stroke 186 mile race, raced across 220 laps on a 0.85 of a mile road course, which is fascinating. I cannot wait to see how this track turns out, because apparently it's a 9-turn road course, but it's only 0.85 miles long, so it's a short road course track sort of thing. So a bit like Bristol stroke Martinsville mixed with Watkins Glen, which sounds like an absolutely amazing combination. I cannot wait to see how this track comes out. The track in itself is called the Newburyport Raceway, and according to VSA 2.0, it's going to have a lot of really cool details on it. It's going to have a flagman, flag stand, full tyre walls, and caution lights, which will be fast. If they're working caution lights, that's going to be brilliant. And the tentative release date for it will be late September to mid-October, which is hopefully when I should have the RockAuto 500 up and running. He's also said on an aside that there will be a 230 kilometre race for the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series around December, and will be started once the Mopar 300 is finished and uploaded to YouTube, which is fantastic. I know I'm not alone, VSA 2.0, in saying that I'm very hyped to see how this turns out. Road courses, you never see road courses done. Obviously NASCAR, predominantly oval race sport, but you never see a stop motion road course race. I think Cowman 25 Million did one once on the floor of his living room, I think. But I've never seen a pre-built road course for stop motion. I cannot wait to see how this comes out. I think it's going to look brilliant. Now, obviously, you've just heard me blithering on about VSA 2.0's stop motion. I put the word out and he got in touch with me. You're probably thinking, hey, do you do shout-outs on my stop motion? Well, yeah. This will be the point of this podcast. It'll give you a platform. If you're a stop motion maker, a fan-made NASCAR maker out there, making a stop motion race, you want it publicised? I'll feature it here. Message me the details of the race, and provided it's not like some piece of crap, like Little Kitty, for 15 laps, it's like 3 laps. It's supposed to be a 500-mile race. No. GTFO. No, but if I think it's got real potential, and I think it's going to turn out to be a really good race, I will feature it and broadcast it here. So please, any prospective stop motion makers out there, get in touch with me. I want to hear about what projects you're running. Now, finally, a sort of final section for this podcast will be a question and answer section. Now, if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me, how did you make the track for the Beck's World Shootout? How did you do the ticker? How did you do the camera shots? How did you edit it together? How did you get the animation together? I wouldn't say I'd be rich, but I wouldn't be struggling with my taxes. Not that I pay taxes anyway, but you get my point. I'd be able to afford a rather nice car, let me put it that way. So, basically, as a final section on this podcast, I will be running a question and answer section. Basically, you can get in touch with me with any questions or queries. For example, how do you make a track? How do you make a stop motion track? How do you make the ticker? Etc, etc. Any sort of questions you want about the... Excuse me, that's my phone going off. If you have any questions about stop motion making and so on, how to improve your own or whatever, let me know. and I will try and answer them as best I can. I won't pretend to be some sort of guru on the subject. You know, you can never learn enough, and I'm certainly not some sort of walking knowledge base about it all, but I'll try and answer it as best I can. So to start off the question and answer section this week, a couple of basic ones. How do you make a stop motion track, for example? That's one of the most common ones that is often asked. There's really no set way of building a stop motion track. There's no rules to doing it. For example, my Beck's World Shootout was actually built on a half-size pool table with no legs. It literally had the whole stripped out. Used to be a pool table. We ripped the cloth off it, took the holes out, and I used it as like a toy car racetrack for ages, and then decided to build it into a track. Very, very small, but it did its purpose and it worked really well. And I used, I think, Scalextric's Armco for the walls, plastered it around the walls, and that seemed to work quite well. People seem to like that. And now for my next track, I'm using a huge bit of wood, as you've seen, nailing Foamex to it for the walls, and we'll have a lot of other things going on there. Brown Door 1986's famous Miller High Life 400 track at the Alley Raceway. That was sheets of poster board and card, painted up with black marker and so on, coloured in, and so it worked that way. All I will say is that you have to make the structures look believable, which is why I like more sort of solid surfaces for walls. Thin bits of card stood up on end as walls sometimes don't look that convincing because they're very flexible, and I'm not being funny, a concrete wall does not bend. Excuse me. So, in my opinion, that's why Foamex is very, very good. Foamex is basically like a sort of plastic material, very flexible, but sort of solid as well, so it works really nicely as a wall. I've got sort of 3mm, I think it's 5mm thick Foamex for the walls at this track. So there's basically no hard and fast rule for how to build a stop motion track. Basically, and this applies for a lot of stop motion fan-made NASCAR making, use your imagination. Watch the real races and try and recreate that in miniature form. It's like the track. If the track looks quite dark, you know, it's just been resurfaced with fresh asphalt, have a black surface to the track, or a darkened surface to the track. The walls are generally white, you know, concretey, but they have smudges on, and the name of the track on the side. That's what I'm going to do with the Brooklands International Speedway. I'm going to have Brooklands along the wall, very much like Darlington has Darlington SC along the walls. Do that. Literally just be creative. Literally just go off and try and make something that just looks as realistic as possible. Realism is key here because, you know, obviously it's not always going to be entirely believable. People are always going to be like, well, it is essentially toy cars, you know, die-cast cars being moved around. But if you can make it something believable and really pretty epic, much like the Miller High Life 400, people will love it. People will really enjoy it. So it's just all about creativity at the end of the day. I'd say that's just about it for this first episode of Desktop NASCAR, the offshoot of Garage Area. The next Garage Area episode will be up hopefully next Monday, discussing all of the the reaction and so on and so forth from the Advocare 500 and all the Labor Day races at Atlanta. So until then, I'll see you next time, and if you are a budding stop motion maker, I want to hear from you. Please get in touch. Let me know. Send me any questions you have, any stop motions you may be making. Let me know. I want to hear from you all. Until then, have a very nice evening, and I'll see you next time.